My wife called male desires problematic, so I made her desires impossible. Sometimes the student becomes the teacher. Update 1. You know what they say about the devil being in the details? Well, mine was hiding in browser history. 3 months ago I thought I had the perfect marriage. My wife seemed supportive, understanding, even encouraging of my weekend fishing trips and Thursday night poker games with the guys. But perfection, as I learned, was just another word for deception. It started with small comments, innocent observations that slowly chipped away at everything I enjoyed. "Don't you think spending every Saturday by the lake is a bit excessive?" she'd ask, tilting her head with that concerned expression she'd perfected. "Maybe we could do something together instead." At first I thought she just missed me. Who wouldn't want to spend more time with their spouse? So I cut back. One Saturday became every other Saturday. Thursday poker nights turned into twice-a-month affairs. I told myself I was being considerate, mature, putting our relationship first. Then came the suggestions about my friends. "They seem so intense about sports, don't they? All that shouting at the television." She'd wrinkle her nose like she'd smelled something unpleasant. "It's almost primitive, isn't it?" Primitive. That word stuck with me because it felt deliberate, calculated. But I pushed the feeling aside. Marriage was about compromise, right? About growing together, evolving. Maybe she had a point about toning things down. The real eye-opener came on a Tuesday evening when she left her laptop open on the kitchen counter. She'd gone upstairs to take a shower and a notification popped up from something called Evolved Women's Circle. The message preview was just visible enough to catch my attention. Update on Project Reformation. Week 8. Project Reformation. My blood ran cold. I shouldn't have looked. Privacy in marriage is sacred. Or so I'd been told my entire adult life, but something about those words triggered every instinct I had. I opened the browser and found myself staring at a private forum discussion that made my stomach drop. There she was posting under the username Transforming Tradition, sharing detailed updates about her systematic campaign to eliminate what she called my problematic masculine behaviors. She'd categorized my hobbies, my friendships, even my choice of television shows into neat little boxes labeled toxic, reformable and acceptable. The fishing trips, escapist behavior that reinforces male emotional unavailability. The poker nights, gambling normalization and homosocial bonding that excludes feminine perspectives. Even my morning routine of checking sports scores was listed as reinforcing competitive masculine hierarchies. But the real kicker was her progress report. She documented every conversation, every subtle manipulation, every guilt trip designed to reshape me into her vision of an evolved man. The other women in the group were cheering her on, sharing their own tactics for deprogramming their husbands and boyfriends. One response particularly caught my attention. "You're doing amazing work. My husband hasn't watched a single football game in 6 months. The key is making them think it's their idea to change." As I sat there reading post after post of calculated psychological manipulation, I felt something shift inside me. Not the romantic movie montage kind of shift. This was colder, sharper. This was the moment I realized I'd been living with a stranger who saw me as a renovation project rather than a human being. The shower was still running upstairs. I had maybe 5 more minutes before she came down, probably expecting to find me exactly where I'd been for the past 8 months, gradually becoming less of myself and more of her ideal companion. I closed the laptop and walked to the window, looking out at the lake where I used to spend my Saturdays. The sun was setting, casting long shadows across the water. For the first time in months I wasn't thinking about compromise or consideration or what she might prefer. I was thinking about what came next, because here's the thing about calling someone's authentic self problematic. You better be prepared for them to apply that same standard right back at you. And something told me my wife's own desires and behaviors wouldn't hold up quite as well under scrutiny. The water stopped running upstairs. I heard her moving around in the bathroom, probably getting ready to come down and continue her evening routine of subtle corrections and gentle redirections. But tonight was going to be different. Tonight the project was about to have a new manager. The next few days were a masterclass in performance art. I watched my wife operate with new eyes, seeing every manipulation she'd been using for what it really was. The concerned looks, the subtle redirections, the way she'd manufacture small crises whenever I had plans with friends. But I played along. I smiled, nodded, even agreed to skip another poker night because she'd suddenly developed a headache that required my undivided attention, all while I quietly observed and documented her patterns. The breaking point came on Friday when she discovered I'd planned a guy's weekend fishing trip for the following month, something I'd arranged with 3 of my closest friends months ago before her reformation project had really taken hold. "A whole weekend," she said, her voice carrying that familiar tone of disappointed concern. "Don't you think that's a bit excessive? I mean, leaving me alone for 3 days just to sit by some lake." Here's where the old me would have apologized, maybe offered to cut it short or invite her along. But the new me, the one who'd read her detailed psychological warfare manual, had a different approach. "Excessive how?" I asked, keeping my voice perfectly neutral. She paused, clearly not expecting the question. "Well, it's just very traditional masculine behavior, isn't it? This need to escape into nature with other men, leaving responsibilities behind. Traditional masculine behavior," I repeated slowly. "Interesting phrase. Where did you pick that up?" The slight flush in her cheeks told me everything I needed to know, but she recovered quickly, switching tactics. "I just think we should be growing together, not apart. These tribal gatherings feel so primitive." There was that word again, primitive. Straight from her forum playbook. Primitive, I said, settling back in my chair. You know what's interesting? I've been thinking about primitive behaviors lately. Like the way you spent $400 on that crystal healing workshop last month, or how you drove 2 hours to attend that moon ceremony thing. Her eyes narrowed slightly. That's completely different. Those are about personal growth and spiritual development, right? I nodded. And fishing with my friends is about what exactly? Reinforcing toxic masculinity. The fact that she didn't immediately deny using that exact phrase told me she knew I was onto something, but she wasn't ready to back down yet. Look, I'm not trying to control you, she said, deploying the classic manipulation defense. I just think you could be more evolved, more present in our relationship. More evolved. Another forum favorite. Here's what I think, I said, standing up. I think you've been spending too much time in online echo chambers that convince women their husbands are renovation projects, and I think you've forgotten that respect works both ways. Now you can watch the second part by pressing share and more.